Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I'm showing you today how to do a movement system with 3 stages, running, walking and idle, with just using Playmaker and not using the annoying Animator, which is quite a rare find on YouTube. So also why I'm doing this video for you here. I'm using Unity 6, the newest version, at least up to this date now, and we'll use the new input system. So let's get started. As you can see, I've already set up my FSM state machine on the object I want to move, and I called it player movement. I have 2 states, walking and running, and by holding the button I switch the state to running. Important to note is that we have vector 2 normalize, which makes sure that we have all directions at the same speed, otherwise the diagonal movement will be like 40% faster. As you can see here, I've set up the new input system and we have action based on that and the velocity, of course, so the player can actually move, and then the vector multiply to make sure we set up the walking speed. When you're starting a new 2D Unity 6 project, then you have the new input system automatically set up, so I actually did not change anything here, it came out of the box. What we need is the player move action and the player sprint action. We will be using these two. As you can see, I have 2 events going on, start running and stop running. The start running will activate when we press the input action for sprint. And this is actually very important, and make sure you set it up like this. I have here is running, yes. So this actually means it switches to is running, so the system knows we are running. And then we have the input system for the move, and the move is stored in a vector 2, which is also very important. We need this for the system to work. So we store the vector 2 we generate from the gamepad or keyboard or whatever you have set up on the new input system on the move variable. Make sure you have it exactly like this here, yes. And what we do is we use this move for velocity 2D, which is also important. We tick on every frame, otherwise we will only move a pixel or so. So this is making sure that the object is moving constantly into the same direction that we have on the input. So make sure every frame is turned on. And at last we have vector 2 multiply, which will make sure we can control the walking speed and align it with your sprite animation. So by changing this variable, you can basically adjust how organic the sprite is moving on the landscape compared to the sprite animations. So for now, let's go to the running state where we have similar things set up. Also make sure you have again vector 2 normalize, otherwise it will be really awkward for the running movement, and make sure this is most of the time the same. But on the input action for the sprint, we do not need to send any sort of event like in the walking state. This state means that as long as the button is pressed, we have the bool switched on is running, and when the bool changes, we send the event back to stop running. And this way we can smoothly transition between those 2 states. So for now, let's go to the other FSM called animation, also on the same object. Don't get overwhelmed, it looks more complicated than it actually is. On start, we go to the animator, which is choosing the right direction in which we are gonna move. And it is really not that hard to understand. We have here the walking in all directions. Make sure you have set it up. These are the events that are important for the animator, and we have all these states here. Make sure you input all these events to make sure you have it set up correctly. You can see how many times it's used. The idle is used 4 times, except the idle exit is 8 times, and all other directions are always used 8 times. This will make sure you do not mess up. And we have is running on bool and movement on vector 2. 8 times used again and 4 times used for the movement. So we are using the axis event, which will make sure the animation can be controlled with various devices like joystick, gamepad and keyboard. I learned the hard way, the axis event is the way to go. It's the smoothest and I had no complications with this. So now we are at the annoying part. We set up all these events and call these different states, which are very logical and quite easy to understand. It basically means that walking can go in all directions. We're calling all events, and running the same. When we have no direction at all, may it be at running or walking, then we switch to the idle state. The idle state is always the same direction as the one we had before. Because we are in this state, we go to the exact idle direction state. For running, we apply the same strategy that we had before on the movement script. When we hold the button, we are at the running state, and when the bool changes because we leave the button, we switch back to walking if we have still a direction, or if we stop moving altogether together with the button, then we switch to the idle state for the same direction. Make sure the run exit event always calls the same direction walk state, which is very important. At this point we also have the idle exit calling the walk state again. We are not using the animator state in the middle. We only use the animator for starting the game or when we enable again the FSM machine. The animator is for logical reasons, because in my case I like to have a state that is very neutral and can call to all different states individually. You do not need to use the animator state I have set up here, but it is a matter of how complex your game will be in the future. You might like the state of animator for various reasons. So this is basically how I set up the movement system. I thought it up myself and I like it how it works. I'm sure it is not as compact and easy maybe as the animator, but it also gives you more options if your game will be really complex. And yeah, as you can see here, I show you how these different events call each other. You have them built up symmetrically in 4 directions, and if you have an 8 direction sprite sheet, then of course you need to add 4 trees more. So that's basically my movement system on Playmaker without Animator. So don't stop running, and I hope this video helped you.